Master Anatomy and Physiology with Indra Mani Pandey.
Welcome back, guys. In today's lecture, today we're going to talk about elastic cartilage. In last lecture, we talked about fibrocartilage. Before I dive into today's lecture, I want to ask you something. Where did you heard this term elastic before? Alright, time off. So, you heard this term in connective tissue proper, especially when you talk about dense connective tissue. It's a type of dense connective tissue where we talk about elastic connective tissue. Now we're going to talk about elastic cartilage, which is a type of cartilage. We talked about hyaline, fibro, and this is the last one. Okay. So first we're trying to label this diagram, and we're trying to give some information about this function, location. By looking this, you already know it's what it's gonna find, right? So ear, that's perfect. So ear. But let's go one by one. Alright, so can you label this figure? The first thing you're gonna see in anything, when you are reading or when you're analyzing any figure or whatever you're doing, first thing foremost is just identifying the structure. What are these structures? You should know this. Come on. These are called chondrocytes. Okay? And what are these running things here? What are these? These are called elastic fibers. Okay, so we understand chondrocyte, we understand elastic fibers, right? And besides elastic fibers, these elastic fibers are in where? In the matrix. So we can just say that is a matrix. Like other cartilages we talked in previous lectures, this one has same component, but it has more elastic fibers. That's what we call this elastic cartilage. Okay, what can you tell me by just looking at this word elastic? Think about rubber, right? So this cartilage behaves like a rubber because it has an elastic fiber on it. So any organs that we find this elastic cartilage will be flexible, right? So then, what is the main function of elastic cartilage? Flexibility, right? One is flexibility. Another thing we talk always is called strength. It provides strength. Okay? One more thing, when you're talking about function, we always talk. What we always talk in elastic cartilage, what might be another function? Another function is called elasticity. Flexibility and elasticity goes together. It doesn't matter. So either one you want to pick up, just do that, whatever you want. So the ear is flexible. So the location is ear, right? Ear is flexible. If it is like tough, we couldn't move or something like that, So the idea here is we label the figure, we have a more elastic fibers. Okay, guys, so what I want to just give you an important idea here is when you're looking this slide, right, this elastic cartilage, the stain is usually like this black or purplish color. Why is that? This is a very specific type of stain they use to see these elastic fibers. Otherwise they cannot see these elastic fibers. We usually use other type of stents, like we use the stents called the H&E, okay, which is called hematoxylin and eosin stent for hyaline cartilage and those type of things. But by using those H and E stains, we cannot see these elastic fibers. So we use a specific type of stain. That stain is called what? I don't expect you to know this, but it's better to know. This is called. It's a scientist who developed his name. He just like put his name. So it is called Virchow Van Giesen stain. In short form, we call this VVG stain. Okay, it is a special type of stain only. Now, I don't want to say only, but mainly to see these elastic fibers. What does this stain do with this cartilage? This stain binds with elastin protein that is present in those elastic fibers. That's why you see these dark bands of elastic fibers. You cannot see by using those H and E stains. You cannot see these fibers by using this type of stains. You have to use this type of stain. There are other stains also, but mainly VVG is used because it is easy. We can do really fast with this. Okay, so description: when you see this purplish type of thing with these fibers, densely packed these chondrocytes, you have to think about that. Okay, and remember that the fibroblasts occupy only few space between fibers, but we actually cannot see fibrocartilage here, fibroblast here, right? So these fibroblasts actually occupy small spaces between these chondrocytes, but we actually cannot see those. But good to know, right? So the function we said, it allows tissue to recoil after stretching. If you stretch here, it has to recoil, right? Interesting. So as I mentioned, you can find in ear. Where other you can find this? You can find on the walls of large arteries like aorta. You find there, and you find this one on what do you call that? Bronchial tube. You can find this on a bronchial tube. Okay, and where else you find this one? You find this one within certain ligaments in vertebral column. You can find this in certain ligaments of vertebral column. Okay, and you find this one in suspensory ligament of penis. You find this cartilage in suspensory ligament. What do you find? Suspensory ligament of penis. You find there also. Finally, you find this one in where? You find this one in trachea, and you find this one in vocal cords or epiglottis, right? Vocal cords. So this is a lot. I don't expect you to memorize all of this, but you should know aorta, right? And you should know this function, whatever I just told you: elasticity, flexibility, and strength. What you also should know, it usually stained like purplish black in color. That's the distinguishing characteristic from other type, and it has more elastic fibers than other, and it is also present in ear. You should know these things. This is very simple, and I don't expect you to know all of this, but just know the main idea here, what I'm just trying to say you. Okay, and before I move on to my another slide, what I also want to mention you is these elastic fibers, which are stained with VVG, basically use used, commonly used in research, commonly used in pathophysiology, or any pathologist usually use these things. For example, in the case of emphysema, right? Emphysema is one of the, crazy, crazy condition, right? So we don't want to have this particular thing. So emphysema, basically what happens is you lose these elastic fibers, and your lungs loses its capability to uh, have to contract. I don't want to say contract, expand or relax type of thing. So emphysema basically means you are losing these elastic fibers. So that's why this BVG, when you stain those tissues, those elastic fibers or those cells which are present in those bronchial tube or whatever you want to say. So when you stain those things, we see that if the elastic fibers number is very less, then that might be the emphysema. We have to think about this condition. We have to think about compliance, right? So that's why emphysema is really, really important, and we'll talk about this pathophysiology in future lectures also. But the idea here is elastic fibers are widely distributed like other fibers also, and these elastic cartilages basically forms the framework. And what I mean by framework means, like, in some places they're really needed, wherever you need flexibility, wherever you need elasticity or any type of strength, you always look for these elastic fibers. That's the main idea here. Now let's go to the end of the slide. So in any type of exam, you might have this type of question and you might have to deal with this. So pick an appropriate word for each blank spot. So how are you going to label it? Before you go in detail, but what I want to just focus is this. What is this? This is the ear, right? The outer part. So when you see this part, you have to know this is a elastic cartilage. It is an elastic cartilage. Now, I picked up elastic cartilage. This is done. Okay, what is lacuna? Lacuna is basically a compartment. Lacuna is basically a compartment. So this is a lacuna. Okay. Perichondrium. Perichondrium, I don't think so they showed, oh yeah, they did. So perichondrium is this. Is a perichondrium because it is the outer layer, right? Peri means surrounding. So reticular fiber. Do you find reticular fiber in elastic cartilage? Do you find fibrocartilage? These things are out of context. Chondrocyte, yes. Chondrocytes are these, the inside one. Okay? Chondrocytes. So chondrocytes are present in the lacuna. Okay, perfect. Osteocytes. Can you find osteocytes in cartilage? Never. Can you find elastic fibers? Yes, of course. So elastic fibers. So that's how you're supposed to label this figure. Usually when you go to the lab, you might have a slide and you might have to look under the microscope and figure out what's going on there. Okay, the matrix is extremely thick and densely spaced, and elastic fibers due to a spatial stain and will cause this component to often appear solid blue-black, as I mentioned, right? And that stain, as I mentioned earlier, that stain is, what is that? Can you tell me now if you recall that? VVG stain. Usually that causes it like black in color. That's the tachomasses. And These other parts, whatever we're talking, these are really, really simple, and they go together with other type of cartilage. And remember, this is very simple. And if you need to come back and look this lecture or watch this lecture again, feel free to do that, and this will definitely help you to understand what's going on in this type of cartilage. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll come up with some pathophysiological conditions, right? So, and I'll talk about those disorders related with cartilages, and we'll talk more about cartilages in future lecture. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.
Please subscribe to see more videos regarding anatomy and physiology.